Alright guys, next week, RL 2.7. The actual standard itself didn't really require a whole lot of annotation, but if you go ahead and look at the third grade and start tying in what it's building up to, you do have pieces that you can add to it. So explain how illustrations help tell more about a text's characters, setting, or plot. In the third grade standard, it talks about how the illustrations and the words convey a message. So tell more can be pulled out and explained by conveys a message. So if you use those words every time, then they're already going to be introduced to that when they head on up. The illustrations, I mean, we're explaining, but we're looking at the illustrations, and the third grade word to pull from there is analyzing. So we're really thinking about what the illustrations are telling us, that they're there for a purpose. So if we change our wording from just look at the illustrations to analyze the illustrations and then explain how those illustrations are conveying a message about the text, character, settings, or plot, then you're setting those students up for great success next year. There are no words that they really haven't been exposed to for vocabulary. I mean, they should know that the characters are the who. They should know that the setting is the where. Plot might be one, with plot being what's happening, and the sequence of events. So if you wanted to pull a word of the day as analyze, or wanted to pull a word of the day as convey, or plot, you could also pull in multiple meaning word. Like I have a plot of land, I have a piece of land that I grew my garden on, but then that kind of plot is a very different plot from what's in the story. Then if you pull from your academic vocabulary, again, there's not a ton in that particular standard, illustrations, character, setting, and plot. But then if you dig deeper into plot, even though the words sequence of events are not in that standard, that's what they're doing when they're looking at the plot. They're thinking about the sequence of events. They're thinking about and identifying and explaining the beginning, the middle, the end, the first, next, then, last. So those need to be included even though they're not specifically in that standard. And then with verbs, explain is the only verb. I didn't write tell more up there. Tell more needs to be up there also. And tell more would be with convey. Sequence, of course, is tied back to plot, and then analyzing. And the ones in purple, the analyze and convey, of course, are coming from the third grade standard. And then sequence is tied back to that plot. And then, like I said, I failed to write up there tell more, but tell more, of course, would come with explain. And then in the clarification document from DPI, it gives 2 instructional ideas to include, and both of them are graphic organizers. One of them has a T-chart, with explain the setting. So on the left side, you would explain the setting, but then on the right side of the T-chart, they would describe how the illustrations provided helped understand the setting. So they would have to explain what did they see in the illustrations that helped them know more about the setting. And then the same with character map. They can describe the character at the beginning of the story and describe how the words and the illustrations provided show and tell about the character. And then you do the same thing at the end of the story with the same character, and then you compare how the two. So you're comparing the two. How did the character evolve from the beginning of the story to the end of the story? Modules 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 in the guided reading book all are tied to character development. Not all of them are applicable to this particular activity, but with that being said, these aren't the only activities that could be done. So they're really just, they've known to look at illustrations this whole time, but they're really just starting to give words and truly analyze how those illustrations play a part. Up until now, they really haven't had to explain it. They've just used them. Now they're going to explain it, because they would end up having questions that would that ask them how to explain how the illustration played a part in the story. Hope that helps.